So, hi guys. I'm going to try to get through this video without it cutting off. Yeah, you know when you get asked whenever you meet somebody new, or you are introduced to somebody, or maybe you are applying for a new job or whatever, you know how when you get asked, tell me about yourself? Tell me a little bit about yourself. Sometimes that it's appropriate to give that person the short version, or the very basics, like what would be important to that person, like to a job or whatever, like your experience, things like that, right? And then there is that tell me about yourself, or I want to get to know you better, or I want to know everything there is about you kind of thing, when you are trying to figure out if somebody can actually fit into your life. Okay, there's that. And that a lot of times, as you mature and as you go and move through life experiences, as you get older, that is like a big book with many chapters, right? Many chapters, many different ways that you might be able to describe you, right? Especially, let's say, if you have children, if you have had relationships, if you've been married before, divorced, or whatever, if you've ever lost somebody, right? And I am very open and freely about my experiences, and I am very open and free to talk about the real human experience of grief and of loss that comes in all different forms, but especially when you lose somebody close to you, like a mate, or like a marriage partner, and anybody really, because of my past experiences, right? Especially because of being thrown into that world in 1 year in particular, which was for me a pivotal point. That year changed me, and I've talked about that before. But it's been 12 years. But since then, when I meet somebody, and I was just having this conversation with a close girlfriend of mine from New York. Her and I were talking about some of our experiences with losing, family members, close family members, and people, whoever, whatnot, and how we can always tell, kind of like how, I don't want to say mature, but where somebody is kind of on their life journey and whatnot, kind of based on if they've actually lost somebody, like how real they are. Because what happens when you do lose somebody very close, and I don't mean like you almost lose them, or where they are, alive still, but they are debilitated, or they are needing a lot of caretaking, or they are, bedridden, because that is a caretaking, all of that. That is a different kind of journey. That is still journeying on. When, let's say, you have somebody with a terminal illness or something like that, but they are still here, where you can actually still talk to them, versus losing somebody. And there's also a difference in losing somebody at a ripe age, where they lived their full life and they didn't have a lot of unfinished business or anything like that, and either they were elderly or sick, and family members and people got a chance to come and say their last goodbyes, and there was a gradual step down to the responsibilities in their life, right? Having the time to have closure when someone dies, to me, I now look at as a blessing, or as a gift, because you don't always get that. You really do not always get the opportunity to say goodbye, because I've lived both. I've experienced both. But I was, talking with a friend and everything. We were just, openly, as we always have. We've always been close, and we've always shared our experiences and whatnot, and how her and I are the same age. But it's like once you start going through some of these type of experiences that are very real, it's like life gets real, really and truly. At this point, if you were trying to fake life or fake happiness or fake this, fake that, or whatever, it's like all of a sudden when you lose somebody very, very, very close, life gets real. And you got to deal with some things, right? Everybody deals with grief differently and stuff like that. And this is why I'm open and talking about this, because throughout the years, as I went through my experiences and whatnot, I met other people and have been able to share and, help and, just share stories and different things like that. And it helps and encourages others, and others have been encouraging to me, right? And what I call or you might have heard this, you grow through what you go through. You grow through what you go through. Hopefully, that is the goal. The goal is to grow and get better through whatever it is that you have to go through. And that's the best that you can ask for, is that you can grow and learn from the experiences in some way and be able to help others, right? With that being said, me already being the kind of person that I am, I obviously did a lot of deep reflection, and I just realized that when somebody says, tell me about yourself or whatever, you cannot give everybody, all of you, right? If they are a client and I'm doing their makeup or whatever, I'm going to tell them about my makeup experiences, right? Unless they ask me for something else, or unless anything else is really brought up, right? I have many different sides to myself. Meaning, when I am dealing in something else or another business or whatever, I'm going to share that part that I feel is relevant. But I have many sides and I've gone through many things, right? And so when a person is ready to accept, or there is a need or a reason for me to share more, go into more about me, or they just want to know, they feel like they can handle more, whatever, then I might give them more. But how do I know when somebody is, actually ready to hear that or whatever? Well, I'm going to tell you things that I know when they're not. I'm going to go ahead and say like what they'll say. And you will, and I this is what I was talking with my girlfriend about. We were both saying we noticed the same thing about this right here. When somebody says things to you like, it's been a year, it's time to move on. It's been 5 years, it's time to move on. Or you're going to have to move on. Or do you think that you'll ever come to a place in your life where you won't refer to him as your husband? Or things like, do you think you can love again? Or, well, you can't cry all day long. Okay, I've heard all of those types of things. Okay. One of my good friends who helped me through the situation when it first happened, when I first lost my husband, and even since then, she was one of my good friends. We were the same age. She has wasn't even married at that point, had not even gotten married, much less lost anybody close. But she was there for me, and she really said nothing. I appreciated her so much because she really didn't say anything. She listened and just offered a quiet support, right? And I appreciated her very much. So, if you actually wanted to get to know me all the way, then part of who I am is the experiences that I've gone through. Part of who I am as a person and who has shaped me, this woman here today, this person today, okay, is a person that has gone through many griefs and has been widowed, remarried, and divorced. Okay? And that is part of my life experience. It cannot get erased. It will not be erased. I have 2 children from my first husband. My 2 children are literally a product of the love I had with my late husband. If I wanted to erase the memory of him, I couldn't, which I do not. But if you ever wanted to cause me to run away from you so fast, or to leave your energy fast, or to disappear from your life, or if you ever wanted to get me to not talk to you or not call you, all you would need to say to me is, when do you think you'll get over him? Or will there ever be a time that you won't bring his name up? Say anything like that, or any of those other things. And I promise you, the answer is yes. The reason why the answer is yes is because I'm out of your life. Because you won't have me in your life. That's why the answer is yes. The answer is yes, there is a time, and it will be today, from here on out. Because I won't be pursuing you, or talking to you, or looking for you, or trying to deal with you in any way, shape, or form. And the reason why is because even though I can be forgiving, even though I can understand it, so a lot of people have not gone through what I've gone through, what I can see is that your empathy level, or that you're just not at a place where you will ever be able to meet all of me. You might be able to meet like 10% of me, or the work me, or maybe the, makeup artist me, or the gift basket me, or whatever, right? Like a piece of me somewhere, but you will never be able to have or meet and deal with all of me when you make statements like that. Because what I know is that means you've not actually gone through it. And a lot of times, when you haven't gone through something, it's hard for people to sympathize or really understand. I mean, if you just read the comments of any grief, video, whatever, because I've shared a bunch of them, just read the comments of people who have lost people, and just read how many times you'll see people don't understand until they go through it themselves, right? The reason why you'll hear that a lot is because it's true. So when a person can't understand, they have 2 choices. They can say things that are can come off condescending, cruel, mean, or just immature, or arrogant, or they can choose to say nothing and just be a listening ear because you love that person, and because that's really all you have to offer, because you haven't gone through the situation. So if you haven't gone through something, then, and this is what they share in like how to help somebody who is going through grieving, and there's videos on that, and there's lots of information and books, and there's different, and one of the number one things is just to listen. Allow that person to say that person's name is a big, huge thing. You ask anybody who has really lost anybody very close, especially a mate or a child. And what is the number one thing is they love to speak that person's name. Why? It's because you're able to keep his memory alive. But to some people, they have a hard concept with that, because they attach keeping that person's memory alive to something sad, or maybe they attach it to a bit of jealousy or something, or like there's a comparison or something, or just saying that person's name. Which is why I've made the statement in one of my past videos, several of them, and I've said this for years. I've said this for years and years. For years I've said this. That, I personally would never be able to get down emotionally and really get down with anybody and get close with anybody as far as dating or anything like that. If anybody tried to, make me stop talking about my husband, or stop talking about Travis, like not using his name, not letting me have his pictures up, especially in my kids' room. I don't mean around the whole house, but when my boys were in the house and everything, in their room and stuff, in other words, just because somebody's dead, you don't stop celebrating that person. For example, Martin Luther King. Okay. For example, Jesus Christ. For example, there are nations fighting one another because of their forefathers who they've never even met. A promise that they both believe, two countries that both believe that this land is supposed to be theirs because of a promise from a forefather, a like how many generations ago father figure. But they know what that person's memory and they know that person's name, who he was, what the problem, whatever, and they want to fight for that person. They got a lot of passion for that person who is dead. And they speak his name. Abraham. Okay, they will speak, no problem, right? People like Martin Luther King or people like that or whatever, that, you know, whoever you, you know, who's passed on or whatever, and is a big deal, people will speak and allow their legacy to live on. Fight for that person. Or even, you know, if something bad happens, they'll get vengeance for that person or whatnot. All kinds of things. And nobody says to any of those people, why do we have to keep their memory alive? Do we have to speak Martin Luther King's name again? Well, Jesus Christ already died. Why do we have to speak about Jesus Christ? Lincoln or whoever, all these other famous people. Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston's one of the best singers, best voices I think I've ever met. I mean, ever heard, not met, ever listened to, right? She's passed on. And, you know, if I hear her music on the radio, do you think I'm thinking to myself, why do I got to listen to Whitney Houston again? Oh, every time I hear her, it makes me sad. It makes me think about she's dead. Does any of that make sense to you? You don't have to lose somebody to know that none of that makes sense to you, right? So therefore, when you're dealing with somebody who has lost somebody very close to them, especially a mate, if you don't know how to relate, if you can't relate, don't try. Don't offer anything. Don't say anything. And if you are wanting to possibly get to know that person on a personal level and on an intimate level or on a dating level, future marriage, potentially marriage partner, whatever, right? You, all by yourself, would be the only person who would be able to know if you feel capable of dealing with that person's memories. Everybody is different. Everybody's entitled to whatever. What I know for a fact, though, is when somebody can't empathize, or if they feel any sense of jealousy, or I don't know what it is exactly. It's really hard to, you know, say what I'm trying to say, but I just know the quickest way to make me run from you as a person, as far as like on a deep level, is you letting me know and showing me that you can't go there with me, or that you will try to stop me from sharing or talking about my experience or my late husband and his memory. I've been sharing this. I shared out a video, a TED Talk that I listened to many years ago. Like, I think it was like 5, 6, 7 years ago. I listened to this many years ago. I shared this video. I've shared it out a few times. Of this woman, and she put into exact words exactly what I remember feeling and speaking and saying at the time, and it was just, she said it so eloquently. It won't let me, YouTube won't let me just upload portions of it, and I can only remix it with her voice and not with the video. It doesn't let me do it. I wish it would, but anyway, it's one of the best. That was one of the best speakers I ever heard. She was sharing her experience with losing her late husband, and she shared several things that are all very, very true. And if you've ever lost somebody, especially a mate, you will know that these things are true. You absolutely do learn how to move on. You learn how to move on with a broken heart. You learn how to move on, or you learn how to move through the experience carrying your late whoever, or whoever you lost, person's memory in your heart. And it is a testimony of the love that you had for them, to share and express, to share their name, to talk about them, share photos, to remember them. In the same way that people every single year remember, Martin Luther King, or, all these other people who have died, and there's all these other days of memory for them, right? That we assign them a day of memory. Okay, so she brings out several points. That was one of them. Is that, yeah, she remarried. Yes, she, like me, she's remarried or whatever. Yeah, you learn how to love and expand your love, right? I think that a lot of people sometimes, grief, it's so many different experiences, right? When you lose, let's say, a pet, when you're ready, you might go out and get another pet, right? When you, let's say you lose a sister or a family, a brother, a parent, an aunt, okay? You don't go online dating to replace and be like, I'm looking for a surrogate mom. Okay, you might need a surrogate to deliver a baby, but you don't lose a grandmother and say, let me go online dating to find a new grandma. Okay, you don't lose a brother or a sister, an aunt. Let me go online and try to find a new aunt. Let me find a new cousin. No, that doesn't make sense, right? But because death does break the marriage bond, when you lose a marriage partner, people want to know a lot of times, or people will say stupid things like, how long is it going to take before you find another one? Or like, when are you going to be ready to find another husband? Or, it's like they want to replace. They'll say things like that. Really and truly, it depends on who you're talking to, but I've heard all of these things. Well, it's been a year. It's about time to break that thing in or whatever. I've literally had men say that to me. Literally have had men say to me, it's been a year. There's no way of knowing if you're really over him unless, you go on ahead and, try somebody new. And they mean like, physically speaking. I heard this kind of crap from, different men, especially, I can remember several different jobs, gigs, whatever. I've had photographers that say stupid things like that, just dumb things. Like, really? Oh, I'm supposed to break it. I'm supposed to bust it open for you to see if I'm over my... That is the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. Anyway, people don't even go in and replace a brother. You don't go online shopping to replace your brother, to replace a mother, to replace a father, you don't even do that for them. But somebody you're so close to that you, if you were close to your marriage partner, and if you actually had a soulmate, and you know what it feels like when two become one flesh, you know what that feels like. But it's so quick, people are so quick to make stupid comments like, well, when are you going to find somebody new? Or, whatever. And just think like, okay, yeah, you should just replace that person. Like it's just going to happen. Like you're just going to replace. People don't understand unless you lost somebody that if you can't even replace a brother or a sister, an aunt, a child, no two are alike, right? Everybody can agree, well, my grandma was my grandma, that was the only one. Why would anybody think that somebody you become so close to that anybody could actually replace that person? You can't. Somebody can take the title of a new husband. Somebody can replace, as far as the role of a father figure, right? Or a husband figure. You can step into that role or, have a second husband and whatnot, right? But nobody is ever going to replace anybody. Because everybody is unique unto themselves. Everybody is unique unto themselves. One of the things I had to realize when it really came time to me moving on to my next husband is that you're not replacing this first husband. He is irreplaceable. He owns this part of my heart. He is a part of my memory, part of my journey. He is a part of my life. Okay? The next person, though, it will be a different journey with different experiences and a different energy, a different aura, everything different. And that will be a different experience. Whatever that is, good or bad, whatever, it'll be a different experience than this. And I had to be prepared for that. And I was, and I am. I absolutely understand that this journey here is, while it is closed as far as like it's ended, as far as the earthly journey, the memories are here and they live on. And like she says in that video, which I re-listened to a little bit today because when I was sharing it on, and she talks about how, yeah, you can create new memories with that person. Like, for example, when people talk about, like it's Martin Luther King Day or whatever, these are new memories that people are creating based and around that person's name or personage, right? You understand what I'm saying? You are giving love and life and respect to this person, actually, who we've all never met, or most of us have never met Martin Luther King. But yet we get to party on one day every single year because of him, right? He died, we get to remember him. And that is okay. But God forbid you even think about or bring up a past, late husband to somebody who's never really experienced truly death, and they will definitely make dumb comments. Say some sort of dumb comments. Now, I have had a few relationships, a couple. I've had 3 relationships really, like since my late husband has passed, and one of them, our circumstances were just not a match, but we were together for about a year, and it was a mutual departing. We hugged, it was a mutual departing. The other 2, I initiated the leaving, had nothing to do with my late husband. The other 2 relationships, though, we were just not a match. My second husband is, we're fine. We're at peace with each other, and we're friends. We're, whatever. It's fine. We were just not a match with the other 2. Okay. The good friends that I have now, and the good relationships that I have been able to forge with others since my late husband has passed, are people who have either gone through similar experiences, who at least can, sympathize, or they definitely understand, or they say nothing. They don't say anything, and they don't really feel like they're encroached upon in any way because I had a late husband. And I have several. Several friends, females and males. And I have a couple who would absolutely marry me today. And they love and have even said and expressed to me with these exact words, tell me more stories of you and your husband. Tell me some more stories of you and Travis. I love hearing your stories about you and your late husband. They want to hear more. And I'm talking about even men. Okay. They are more than open to hearing about my past experiences. Like, it don't bother them. They actually like it. Whatever. It's like, whatever. It's a very, very open kind of thing. And there's plenty of people like that. And then there are some people that you'll meet that are just not. Usually those are the people who have never gone through anything serious like that, or have not lost anybody serious. Definitely have not lost a mate. They might have divorced a mate, and you will hear people say that a divorcing is like a death. Yes and no. Yes and no. Okay? And the reason why I say that is there are some relatable points to getting divorced. I know, because I've been divorced and I've been widowed. A divorce is something that you can control. Number one, you can control that. As far as, like, maybe you don't want to do it because maybe it's the other person that wants to divorce you. But if you want to divorce that person or whatever, right? You know, in other words, somebody is going to initiate this divorce, okay? Nobody initiated a heart attack for my husband. Nobody. I didn't wake up and say, today's the day that I think is a good day to, you know, initiate a massive left chamber heart attack and make my two boys be fatherless. See the difference? Not the same.